Why does it feel like your prayers rise up, but the answers never seem to come down? It is one of the most honest questions anyone can ask. You pray with sincerity, you believe with your heart, yet the results do not match your expectations. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and sometimes it feels like you are speaking into silence. But what if the gap between prayer and results is not empty? What if something is happening in that space that you cannot yet see? To understand this, you have to realize that prayer is not just about asking. It is about alignment, timing, transformation, and sometimes even unseen battles. Consider the story of Daniel in Daniel chapter 10. Daniel had been praying and fasting for understanding. For 21 days, there was no visible response. Nothing changed. No sign, no answer, no breakthrough. But then in Daniel 10, 12-13, an angel finally appears and says, "From the first day that you set your heart to understand, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days." This reveals something most people never consider. The answer was released from the first day, but there was resistance along the way. The lesson here is profound. The gap between prayer and results can sometimes be spiritual, not situational. Just because you do not see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Now think about your own life. Could it be that your prayer has already been heard, but something is still unfolding behind the scenes? Instead of giving up, what would it look like to stay consistent, knowing that the delay does not equal denial? If that perspective shifts something in you, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Another powerful example is found in John 11, the story of Lazarus. When Lazarus became sick, his sisters sent word to Jesus, expecting an immediate response. But instead of rushing, Jesus delayed. By the time he arrived, Lazarus had already died. In John 11:6 it says, "He stayed 2 more days in the place where he was." That delay feels uncomfortable, even confusing. But in John 11:14-15, Jesus explains that this situation would reveal God's glory in a greater way. And in verse 43, he calls Lazarus out of the grave. The lesson here is about timing. Sometimes the gap between prayer and results exists because God is preparing a greater outcome than what you initially asked for. In your life, there are moments when you pray for a quick solution, but God is working on a deeper transformation. What feels like delay might actually be intentional timing. So ask yourself this quietly. Am I open to God answering my prayer in a way that is different, but greater than I expected? Then there is the story of David before he became king, found in 1 Samuel 16-24. David was anointed as king while still a young shepherd. The promise was clear, the calling was certain, yet the reality did not change immediately. Instead of stepping into the throne, David spent years running, hiding in caves, and facing danger from King Saul. In 1 Samuel 24:10, David had an opportunity to take matters into his own hands and kill Saul, but he refused. He chose to wait. The gap between the promise and the result was long and difficult, but it was in that gap that David's character was shaped. The lesson here is about preparation. Sometimes the space between prayer and results is where God prepares you for what you asked for, because receiving something too early can be as dangerous as not receiving it at all. Think about this in a practical way. If everything you prayed for happened instantly, would you be ready to handle it? Or would it overwhelm you? There is also the story of the persistent widow in Luke 18:1-8. Jesus told this parable to show that people ought always to pray and not lose heart. The widow kept coming to the judge again and again, asking for justice. At first, nothing happened. No response, no action. But because of her persistence, the judge eventually responded. The lesson here is about consistency. The gap between prayer and results often tests your endurance. It reveals whether your faith is momentary or sustained. In today's world, it is easy to expect instant results, but spiritual growth does not operate on instant timelines. Faith deepens through persistence. So consider this. How do you respond when answers do not come quickly? Do you stop praying, or do you press in even more? Bringing all of these stories together, the gap between prayer and results is not random. It serves a purpose. Sometimes it is spiritual resistance, like in Daniel's story. Sometimes it is divine timing, like in Lazarus' situation. Sometimes it is preparation, like in David's journey. And sometimes it is a test of persistence, like the widow's story. When you understand this, the gap no longer feels empty. It becomes meaningful. Right now, take a moment to reflect. What are you praying for that has not yet shown results? And which of these lessons might apply to your situation? Because the truth is, God is not ignoring you. He is working even when you cannot see it. If this message speaks to where you are, take a moment to reflect deeply. Then share your thoughts in the comments, because your experience might encourage someone else who is in the same waiting season. And if you know someone struggling with unanswered prayers, share this message with them. Stay consistent, stay patient, and stay open to how God is moving in your life. And if you want to go deeper, watch the next video in this series, where we explore how to recognize when your prayers are actually being answered. Because sometimes, the answer is already on the way. You just have to understand the space in between.